What's up, Instagram? How we doing? It's Greg here at Fisherman's Headquarters, just checking with you guys, see how things are going. Just wanted to run through a couple things. See some people sending some messages, kind of put a countdown up before. Super stoked we got a few messages in. So we'll touch base on them in a little bit, say the second half of this. First, wanted to just kind of jump in and say hello. Hopefully everybody's getting out and fishing. Hopefully everybody's having some fun. The fish report's been pretty good. Striped bass, some small blues around, lots of fluke. Fluke opens up this Friday. Sea bass opened up last Friday. This weekend was filled with some good sea bass reports. Anyone wants to check out the fish report? That's kind of what I was doing. Sorry for the late jump in here. Just posted a new fish report. FishingLBI.com is the place. That's where we post fish reports for the tackle shop. So if you want to check out a tackle shop report from Long Beach Island area, FishingLBI.com. So just wanted to give some heads up. We are open at the shop. We're still rock and rolling with the curbside. We are basically Monday through Thursday, 7 to 7. Friday and Saturday, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then Sunday, 6 a.m. to 4, 5, 6 o'clock-ish. So if you guys need anything, let us know. It'd be best to reach out and give us a phone call and say, what's up, this is what I need, and we'll prepare an order for you. If you want to shop online, we're rocking and rolling online. Orders are coming in faster than ever. Thank you for the business. As far as the updated status on orders and as far as inventory goes, we're rocking and rolling. Basically, all the orders are somewhat up to date. If an order hasn't shipped, it's due to supply issues. Actually, just got heads up today. One of our main suppliers just gave us heads up. An order that was placed a couple weeks back is back ordered, or not really back ordered, but not shipping for 5 weeks. They're super backed up. Major bummer. I know, just like everybody else, you need something. You kind of wanted it yesterday. So we put these orders in preparation for certain things we saw coming, whether it's Fluke Season, Striper Season, the summertime season, and tried to prepare for some things, and it's just not panning out. So long story short is we've got a lot of product. We've got a lot of stuff in stock. If you need something, let us know. But there are some things that we are short on. Not going to get specifics, but one of them would be some ballyhoo. We placed an order in January looking for bait. We place our order every kind of winter to get the premium winter baits from South Florida. Just got heads up this week. It was supposed to ship April 1st. Just got heads up this week where they're saying, hey, there's some shortages. We'll have an order out to you soon. When, I don't know. Still waiting for the follow-up. But we're a little low on selects. Not sure how many of those we'll be able to get you. So just an update. If you guys are looking for bait, we're doing our best. There's a bunch of people that pre-order bait with us. Those people will get first priority. And more than likely, everybody looking for one pack here, one pack there, we will not have select baits. That being said, we should have a bunch of large mediums and horses. So any offshore anglers watching this, looking for some baits, we're doing the best we can. Hopefully we'll have some premium Baitmaster wintertime greenies in stock here soon. But right now we are super, super, super low. That being said, I got out and fished this past weekend. I was happy to have a trip on Saturday and also Sunday. Put some time in trolling for a few hours. I personally wasn't one of the lucky boats. I had a friend catch a nice fish right next to me. We marked a few fish. I'd say we probably marked maybe 3 bass. We didn't come tight. No bites for us. That being said, it's kind of how the cookie crumbles. That's part of fishing. I still enjoyed the day. It was a lot of swell out there. For the most part, it was a beautiful day. And had a good guy on the boat. Sunday, had another trip. Was a fun time. Looked around a couple different areas before I poked out to do the troll game. Caught a couple fish, which was awesome. Kind of broke the ice early, which is always good on a charter. And then basically the charter guy, the client said, "Hey man, I'm good on trolling. I caught these fish. Let's do a couple other things. I don't want to watch paint dry." So I said, "Hey man, you're passing up on some of the biggest fish opportunities we have. Are you sure?" And he said, "You fished 3 hours yesterday. I don't feel like trolling for 3 hours to catch nothing. Even if we troll for an hour to catch one, it's not the biggest thing." So he wasn't totally stoked on trolling. So we ended up staying in the bay. We played around on the flats, had some fun with some smaller bass and some smaller bluefish. You may ask, where in the world are the big bluefish? Don't ask me. So I don't know. I got reports about a week and a half back. Some of the local gill netters, the commercial guys, saw some fish out the Hudson Canyon out in that region. I guess some longliners reported it to them, and I think some gill netters were trying to look somewhat in the deep. I'm not saying there, but somewhere offshore more to see if they could find some, and they kind of struck out. So there's rumor there's some fish out in the deep. I don't know if anybody on here has maybe been looking for those tuna. Some really, really big bluefin tuna have been caught. Jersey Giants. Super stoked it wasn't like one here and one there. There's a number of fish caught. So that was some awesome news. Hopefully you guys have seen some of those photos going around. If not, fishinglbi.com, the blog, you'll see a short little post in there about some bluefin fishery. It's kind of starting up. Normally July is an awesome month, and also August, the summertime months. But early season now in May, you could see some really big fish, can be good fishing. And also late season, sometimes November-ish, we see some bigger fish move through, much closer in. These fish, some of these fish, not all, have been caught within sight of land, which is pretty spectacular to see a 90-inch tuna with land in sight. So if you guys are looking to get out and do some tuna fishing, will these fish be here after the blow? It's up for debate. So let me roll into that. Anybody know who Arthur is? Maybe, maybe not. So Arthur's a tropical storm. It's coming up the coast here. It's basically off of North Carolina, the Outer Banks-ish region, a little bit north of there. It's kind of coming up, and it's doing a little bit of a clockwise hook or a little circular pattern to the east and then back to the southeast. Right now, it's no threat to land. Don't be alarmed. However, everyone should know, if you're a coastal community like we are in Long Beach Island, it's hurricane season. You should have kind of your stuff together, have a plan in place. That being said, the reason I want to mention it, fishing was awesome. Had some really, really good days of weather, and then comes lots of wind. That's just kind of how it all comes out to play during the season. There's kind of some ups and downs. The fish show up, the fish disappear. It always seems to be right when the fishing gets really, really good, storm comes in and knocks you down. But you got to get up. You got to figure out where to pick up the pieces. I think when this storm blows through, I think it would be like Friday-ish, maybe Saturday, this upcoming weekend. Should see some more tranquil weather, some fair seas. Hopefully you guys are geared up and ready to go. As far as the striper fishing goes, I think it's going to be pretty good. If it's not, I'd be surprised. It's really good going into this blow. We've got the new moon. I want to say it is the 22nd. Normally some big fish feed around the new moon. If you don't have your stuff in order, I would strongly suggest now's the time to get it in order. If you need assistance, need some tackle, need some new line, need some service, let us know. We can try to help you out. As far as getting rods or reel serviced right now in, say, a 4 or 5 day period of time, no question, not going to happen. Should have done this over the winter. But that being said, if you got a little patience, you can wait. Feel free to drop something off. We can try to help you out the best we can. Kind of wanted to dive into some questions in a moment. Kind of wrote a couple notes here, just making sure I'm touching on a few things. I guess I could basically say the fishing report, like I said, is up. It's live. Big fish were caught, and most people ask kind of how were they caught? What were people doing? How were they doing it? Surf fishing in May and June. It's primarily bunker chunking. Yes, early season you could fish clam and worms off the surf, but I would strongly suggest right now we're not really early season. It's more like the meat of the season, the prime time season, especially as we approach this new moon phase here in late May. This is kind of when the big fish are here. I wouldn't be playing around on the beach fishing clam. If you want to, that's fine. Maybe you want to fish the smaller pieces of clam for some of the smaller critters that are roaming around. Maybe catch a blowfish, something like that. Maybe a kingfish. You could catch both those species on cut squid. Fish bite bloodworms, those would be something popular you could check out off the surf with small hooks for the smaller creatures. But if I was fishing the surf right now, I'd be fishing bunker chunks. If you do catch a kingfish, you do catch a blowfish, it's up to you if you want to keep it and eat it, but you might want to chunk that and put that out there or fish it whole. You might be surprised what comes along. So as far as surf fishing goes, strongly suggest bunker chunking. That would be for bluefish and striped bass. How big or how small those chunks you want to fish, that's up to you. I would strongly suggest fishing nothing smaller than, say, $1/2. You can fish a big piece of it as you possibly can cast, whatever your gear can handle. Some guys fish half baits and such like that. As far as the action in the boats, inshore fishing, striped bass trolling has been kind of the way to go. One dialed in Capt Mike Greene, Luckey Stripes Charters. Shout out to Greene. Awesome captain. He roasts fish year in, year out. Well known as a big fish captain, big fish charter service. He wins tournaments all the time. He's definitely dialed in. He's probably been the most consistent boat in the last few days dialed in. He was one of the first captains to report some action going on with some big fish. He got them all live bait fishing, and he's been continuing to put big fish in the deck. Some awesome photos going around from Greenie. So if anyone wants a charter, give a shout to Captain Mike Greene. He's definitely fishing. He definitely knows how to catch big fish. And if that's your thing, you want to catch big fish, give him a shout. He'll definitely love to take you out there. I know he's got some availability. If you wanted to look him up, Captain Mike Greene, Luckey Stripes Sport Fishing or Luckey Stripes Charter Service, he'd definitely take you out and put you on some fish. So in terms of the majority of anglers out there, they're trolling. Tony Maja bunker spoons, reliable, the classic bunker spoon. And Spoonfed. Spoonfed makes an awesome bunker spoon. Also makes a new wireless bunker spoon. Bunker spoons would be a very, very good idea. Very good lure to target striped bass and big striped bass this time of year in the spring. Another awesome lure would be Dante from Magictail. He was just on the other day doing a little Instagram live, a little interaction here. Hopefully you caught that. If not, you might want to look back, look on our YouTube, Fisherman's Headquarters YouTube page. We have that archive there. You could check out some things that Dante mentioned. Just to go a step further, Magictail makes some awesome products. One of them would be the Magictail Mojos. If you don't know what a mojo is, I'm really bummed out to hear that, but Mojos are awesome striped bass fishing lures for trolling. He also is starting to make this year's smaller ones, say in the 3-4 ounce range for more cast and retrieve, more drifting and jigging. When I say cast and retrieve, more heavy conventional tackle, kind of bouncing them through, more on party boats and such like that, but you can fish them on a small boat as well. It's basically just a miniature mojo or a massive bucktail, whichever way you want to look at it. But mojos are very, very productive. Trolling is very productive this year. Fish are spread out. They allow you to cover ground, allow you to work certain areas, allow you to kind of hunt down and seek out where these fish are hiding, where these fish are staged up, and they can give you a spread of options when you're trolling to fish higher in the water column or down deep in the water column. Mojos can be fished just about anywhere depending on the weight. I guess bunker spoons, if you know what you're doing, you can also fish them in different areas as well, but most commonly you'll find bunker spoons are fished sort of in that middle to bottom section of the water column. I guess some people that don't know what they're doing are probably trolling bunker spoons much higher in the water column than they might realize. Maybe bunker spoon trolling is a topic we can talk about. If we get some messages, people start messaging about it. I know it's something over the years we've definitely spent a lot of time with customers, whether they're just getting into bunker spoon fishing, whether they're geared up and having problems. Bunker spoon definitely is a very in-depth topic. If somebody wants to talk about bunker spoons, feel free to reach out. Say, hey, let's talk about bunker spoons. We'll do the best we can to get you dialed in. There's a lot to know from rods and reels to line, leader, kind of where you're at, how to do it, what to do, how to get a trolling spread set up, kind of what you do once you're out there and you have a trolling spread set up, and kind of all the kind of small, kind of fine points that make bunker spoon fishing effective, or, you know, what some people find is somewhat can be boring and kind of lackluster until you get a bite. But sometimes the fish are dialed in the troll. It's one of the only ways to get them sometimes, and that's when it's most effective. So that being said, we got a number of questions. Put a shout out there earlier, say, hey, any questions, fire them at us. Didn't really have too much to talk about. Didn't really have too much to dial into. Just wanted to mention about the shop, about the fishing report, kind of some local happenings. Just a heads up, if you're familiar with Long Beach Island, all the beaches on LBI are open. All the boat ramps on LBI are open. And now all the traffic lights on Long Beach Boulevard are on. So travel with extreme caution. People have gotten used to these traffic lights being off for, all the winter months. And now that they're on, people habitually run red lights on LBI for the first couple days, definitely for this first week. So keep that in mind. Proceed to certain intersections with caution. As always, look both ways. You'll see lots of accidents in the next couple of days. So hopefully you're not one of them. Stay safe out there. Hopefully everybody's quarantined and better than ever. I know people are getting stir crazy and they're getting out and fishing, and fishing's probably the best way. So to everybody, fish through it. Hopefully you guys are having a great time. So I'm going to dive into some of these questions. And if you guys have some questions, shoot them down the messages there. Love to help you out. And if I can't help you out, we'll just pass over the question. So one of these questions came from, let's go to this first one here. Connor Level says, what's the best spots south of the main bridge in the bay to fish for stripers right now? So anybody familiar with Barnegat Bay? That's north of the bridge. Most of the time you talk about Barnegat Bay, that's like the Causeway Bridge to LBI, Route 72, and all the way north up to Seaside, even further up, way up. I guess they're all the way to the Point Pleasant Canal. So south of the bridge is what's considered Manahawkin Bay. Manahawkin Bay is full of lots and lots and lots of west side sod banks. A lot of those sod banks have creeks. You have Mill Creek. That's where Beach Haven West is. You have Cedar Run. There's actually 2 Cedar Runs. And it kind of ventures down into like Rose's Cove, Long Point down there, and Tuckerton. Then you kind of get into like Marsh Elder Channel and all those islands out there. That's where I would fish. I would focus on a couple things. The Sodbank Islands and grass flats. If you can find grass flats with like 3 to 5 foot of water, you're going to want to drift those. If you could find sandy edges on the side of those grass flats, game on. Fish poppers, fish small swimming plugs, and also fish some soft baits. If you're going to look towards some sod banks that have deeper, say, walls, you can fish like rubber storm shads, little bucktails. They can be effective as well to fish that deeper water column. But you can also fish poppers on those sod banks. You find any kind of rips, any kind of structure, drop-offs, fish those. Marsh Elder Channel is a great spot to fish. If you're familiar with Long Point you can also have fish. It's not the most popular spot. Used to be very, very good for weak fish, but you can definitely find striped bass there. In my younger years, I used to keep my boat in Ship Bottom. I did much, much more fishing in Manahawkin Bay, down to Beach Haven and even Holgate than I do now. My boat's up in Barnegat Light in the north end, so I do much more fishing on the north end of the island. So Connor, hopefully that helps you out there a little bit. Nate C says, any advice on catching blowfish? So yeah, blowfish are around right now. They showed up early this season, and they should be around hopefully all summer. It's a great summertime species. I would strongly suggest, if you are in the Barnegat Bay area, 42, BI, BB, get by those buoys. In that general area, you don't have to be right on the buoy. General open bay, open area. Anchor up, and you're going to fish clam chum, get a good slick going, and fish small pieces of clam, small pieces of squid, and you should have some luck. If you don't have luck, move around a little bit. Fish maybe 45 minutes. If you don't do anything, move it along. I personally like to move around a little more than most. I would say that if you put a half hour in, it might be not long enough. So give it 45 minutes, maybe even an hour, and then switch out to another spot. I wouldn't just move 100 yards away. Maybe cruise, a few minutes down the bay or something like that. Hopefully that helps you out there, Nate. Another question came in from Ronan8. Ronan8 says, best spook style lure for striped bass. My opinion, the Dock. The Dock is an awesome lure. It's a topwater spook that I've caught small bass on. I catch really, really big bass on them. They're awesome. They're durable, they're affordable, and they catch fish. So another question from MB Hammer 81. What's the best time and tide of day? What is the best tide and time of day in the surf this time of year? So the best time and tide, I would say, is when you can go fish. If you can only fish for a little bit of time, just go. Don't get too into specifically trying to figure out this is when I have to fish, this is when I can't fish. Just if you can go, go. A little bit of time put in on the beach is better than no time. I would strongly suggest putting a little bit of time in here than staking out for a whole day or a whole 6-8 hours. Sometimes those long sessions can be brutal. It's one thing if you want to kick back and relax. It's one thing if you got a bunch of time to burn. Most people, even though there's a quarantine going on, have somewhat of a busy life at home with work, where they're doing whatever they're doing. I strongly suggest not staking in and putting a spike down bait fishing or walking the beach for hours upon hours upon hours looking for fish. If you want to do that, great. When you find them, please report back to me. I would really appreciate it. But yeah, I would strongly suggest going on a limited time. If you want to focus, I would definitely suggest the golden hours, early morning, late afternoon, and evening. If you find a piece of structure, a piece of water that you like, looks good during the day, fish that at night. Try to fish around the dropping tide. I personally like the dropping tide in the spring, but that doesn't mean you can't catch them on the incoming tide. Some guys will catch them on the incoming tide. One of the tides I really prefer off the surf is low tide. I've caught a lot of fluke off the surf at low tide, caught a lot of bluefish on low tide, caught a lot of striped bass at low tide. I'm personally a believer that if there's fish in an area, if there's less water, those fish should be focused in a smaller area. I also feel that bait fish, any kind of bait that's along the beach, it may be minnows and stuff like that, like spearing. It could be small anchovies. It could be mullet. Could be bunker. They kind of get flushed out and they have nowhere to go at that low tide. They can't stay up kind of in their own little protected areas. Also crab, shrimp, all that kind of stuff. Anything that's got washed around towards that middle high tide kind of gets sucked off. I think those fish, the game fish, like to roam into those small pockets of water at low tide and kind of search around. So my suggestion, fish the dropping tide, fish it out, fish it all the way out, fish it all the way to the slack. And as far as time, like I said, early, late, would definitely do it. High noon, middle of the day, not the best. People catch plenty of fish at midday, some really big fish sometimes. If there's bunker present, awesome. If that's the only time you have to fish, awesome. Maybe it's the only time that you can cut out. Just go, make it happen. You'll have fun, hopefully. And if you don't have fun catching, hopefully you have fun just kicking back, relaxing, kind of enjoying the ocean and the salt air. Anthony says, any tips on catching big bass from the beach? So I would say my best tip for catching big bass is be prepared. One, you have to put time in, you have to go fish, but you got to be prepared. If you go up there and your stuff's in shambles, old line, chipped guides, rigs from years ago that might be chafed up, rusted hooks, swivels that might be corroded and ready to break, all these things are just unacceptable if you're looking for big fish, that is. You had the whole winter to play around. You really had the whole quarantine now too to play around. Now's the time. You should be prepared. The fish are here. Like I said, new moon's here, coming. If you're going to put time in, don't waste your own time. Get dialed in, head out. I don't want to go into tips about fishing bait, fishing lures. We'll talk about that in a whole other session. But I would focus on making sure everything you got going on is dialed in, no weak links. You want to find the weak links now, not the fish, when it happens. So hopefully you take that and you use it. What's up, Gray? Shout out. What's up, buddy? Anybody who wants to follow some awesome content, follow Gray. He's a dialed in. He's catching a bunch of fish every night. He's catching flukes, some striped bass, some bluefish. He's dialed in. So Mark, going back to these questions. Mark says, is the store open for curbside pickup? Yes, it is. We're doing curbside, struggling to kind of make ends meet. Small business life right now during the quarantine is definitely rough. If you need something, feel free to call us up. I would strongly suggest calling in preparation beforehand. It allows us to kind of tell you what we have. We're both on the same page. We get your stuff together. We have a bag ready. Got your name on it. You can pay over the phone or pay when you get to the shop. This way you're not waiting in line. This weekend we had 10, 15 customers deep outside. Just each one waiting, hey man, this is what I need. Can you get this for me? And then it kind of turns into somewhat of a long-winded, I call it sales process or back and forth. It's obviously much more difficult to conduct business in a retail fashion. Salesman to customer, back and forth with questions and answers and stuff like that, without being able to roam around the store and pick out products, say, here, check this out, check this. So over the phone is very, very convenient, but we can definitely bring stuff outside. You want to check out some rods, you want to check out some reels, maybe it's some lures, feel free to call. Say, hey man, this is what I'm looking for. Maybe we can meet up in the driveway and we can do a little kind of a review of some products. So as far as curbside, yeah, we're doing it. You can show up at the door, doors open, but access to the shop is limited. Can't let every customer in the shop. It's just basically employees. That's for everyone's safety. our customers and our employees. But we are doing the curbside. We're going to have the driveway kind of open. You guys need bait, we've got it. You guys need tackle, we've got it. Strongly suggest, going back to what I said about the shortage in supply from a lot of our suppliers, manufacturers being slow to ship, please look ahead. If you know, hey, this is what I normally use during fluke season, I would strongly suggest buying it now. When I say this now, I'm talking like tomorrow, this week. I would not put this off for a month and say, oh, normally in August, this is what I'm using. I'll buy it in July. I got a feeling that there's going to be bad shortages. You'll be in a bad situation if you don't have tackle. If you got favorite gulp baits, favorite bucktails, even leader that you know you always use, grab some now. I'm not saying this to draw up business. I'm saying it because suppliers are very slow to ship right now. Manufacturers, very slow to ship. There's shortages in supply chain. I mentioned it a couple stories ago, messaged it in Instagram Live. I want to say last week, 2 weeks ago. We're cranking orders, we're selling stuff. It's great, but the stuff that's coming in is just not coming in as fast as it usually does. All these orders were booked months and months in advance. It's not like we're calling up people right now saying, hey, you got A, B, and C? Oh, sorry. No, this was done last year, basically, end of 2019, going into the winter, even throughout the winter, placing orders for spring and summer preparation, even fall preparation, fall 2020. We've got orders booked. They're not showing. So just want to give you a heads up on that. Another message came in from Adam Shear. Of all the people asking, he shouldn't be the one, but he says, any bass in the flats? He knows there's bass in the flats. I should probably blow up his spot and say, hey, go fish A, B, and C, but I won't because I was on the flats on Sunday and Saturday too and caught some fish. Small bluefish, like large snappers, small cocktails. We're talking less than a pound to a pound, maybe a little bit bigger than a pound. Real small bluefish. Super fun on light tackle. Super fun on little, 15-pound braid, little 3,000 spinners. We're fishing little poppers for bass with that. So these bluefish were kind of feisty, came up on top, caught a couple on the fly, little 7-weight fly rod, little snappers, cool. The one guy I had on the boat was a trout fisherman from Pennsylvania. He stoked catching them. He had a blast. Some people that are after the big fish might not have had so much fun on that trip, but after a few hours of trolling with nothing, kind of pulled inside to the bay and kind of salvaged a charter, fished the flats, had some schoolie bass, some fun ones. If you want to check out a nice picture of a striper, Bayside striper, check out Fishhead Greg, that's me, on Instagram, at Fishhead Greg. There is a post that is put up of Levi, caught that striped bass on, I'm not sure if that one was on the Magictail bucktail or if that was on a Rapala or Yozori, but I know we caught fish in all three of those. Those are three of some of the most common lures I fish. Rapalas, the X-Raps are awesome. Yozori mag minnows are awesome. And Magictail bucktails are awesome. I have to say one other awesome lure, SP minnow. Without those four lures, I don't know what I would do with myself, but they're awesome. If you don't like them, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully you have something you do like. But for me, they're very near and dear to my heart. I fish them almost every trip. I fish them in the bay, fish them in the inlets, and sometimes even fish them in the ocean. So hopefully that helps you. Hunter says, all-time favorite way to target fish and why? I'd say my all-time favorite way to target fish is fly fishing. Why? It's very, very challenging. The very popular Cedar Run lures, Blake mentioned that there's certain ways of catching fish that are sort of like Ray Charles fishing. That's kind of like a little the term he coined some time ago. What he means by that is you can almost catch fish, with your eyes closed, being in a blind state. No disrespect to Ray Charles, great guy. No disrespect to the blind. I'm sure it's very challenging living like that. But it was kind of a way that he kind of paints a picture to say there's certain ways to catch fish that don't take much skill. And I guess all fishing takes skill, but it takes a lot of luck. But there's certain ways of fishing, such as snagging bunker, such as trolling, such as live bait fishing, that somewhat don't take as much skill as others. Some people would argue that. I'm sure there's definitely room for debate and say, oh, there's lots and lots of skill in trolling. Certain people know what they're doing and they outfish everyone else. I agree. There's certain people that are very dotted with live bait fishing. They'll knows certain skills and have certain experiences, and they're dialed in, and they outfish a lot of other people while everyone's live bait fishing. Also, the same thing goes with snagging bunker and snag and drop fishing. Same thing. To me, fly fishing, you have to be dialed in with all sorts of things. One, you have to know the fish very well. You have to know how they react to different situations. You also have to know the conditions that are at stake in preparation. If you're going to rig up, you're going to need a bunch of different lines and rods and reels. If you only have one, it's going to be pretty challenging to know that situation beforehand and go into it with one specific setup. That being said, you got floating line, intermediate, and then a heavy sinking line. Which do you use in what situations? To me, that is kind of what brings some of the extra challenge into it. It's not just knowing where the fish are and kind of how to get them to bite. It's kind of how do you present it to them. Casting or dropping down or trolling, in my eyes, is somewhat easy. Casting a fly rod in windy conditions, not so easy. The casting distance you get out of a fly is very minimal. I mean, a really good caster can get some distance, but most, say, advanced, not even advanced, intermediate anglers are getting 50 yards maybe. You're fishing much closer in that zone to where you're actually located. To me, that makes it much more challenging. The ability to fish in those tight situations where there's wind, you can only approach it in a certain way. Boat handling comes into effect. Maybe you're off of land. You got to know kind of where to go, where that wind will work with you, where it will work against you. To me, it's an advanced stage of fishing where you really got to put your mind to things beforehand and then also adapt during it. So that's my opinion. I really like to fish because of the challenge for fly, with the fly. If you want to ask about species, I really like targeting striped bass on the fly. I really like targeting bigger bluefish on the fly, but I'd have to say false albacore are my favorite. They're somewhat challenging because they're so fast. They have some pretty good eyesight, and a blitz with false albacore is just awesome to see. So that's my response to that question. Dan Unger says, what should I use to jig for striped bass? So I would say the number one most popular jig for striped bass of all time is the Ava jig or diamond jig. Ava, Ava, tomato, whatever you want to call it. The Ava jig, AVA, the 007, the A17, the 27. Those three sizes are going to get a lot of work done in a lot of different conditions. You can fish like a high vis, say a green or yellow tube. Some people like the blood red, like the maroon, or like a black. Any of those tubes are popular. I like to fish a naked one with a little flash tied on there. Personal opinion. You can put a little hackle on the back, give a little extra action. When slender baits are around, like sand eels, they work. They work amazingly good, even when some bigger baits are around too, which is kind of odd. Other than that, bucktails. So to answer your question, Dan, bucktails, diamond jigs, if you've got those, I think you're going to cover a lot of striped bass fishing. And if you think a little further ahead, you actually cover a lot more bases than just striped bass. Those same lures I just mentioned, fluke, sea bass, game on. You got it all figured out. Another question came in from El Pizza God. What color do colors really matter for lures when fishing for striped bass? Debunk the debate. I would say colors matter. I definitely am not in the school of thought that colors don't matter. Some days colors matter more than others. In my opinion, I think if you have a white and chartreuse, and you've got kind of like a natural kind of chrome color, maybe like an olive back chrome or a black back chrome, you cover a lot of bases. And then the only thing I really think you need is something dark, black and purple. Maybe it's all black, something like that. And you'll get a lot done with those kind of color shades. Like a yellow, not a high vis, say chartreuse, like an all yellow. Sometimes they call them school bus, like a yellow white. Can be very good. But to me, it's that chartreuse and white is one of my number one. Catch them on sunny days, catch them on cloudy days, catch them in dirty water, catch them in clean water. White is very, very good. Just to get a message here, Henry mentions or questions, do you think pencil popper colors matter? I think pencil poppers colors matter less to the fish than they do the angler. I personally like to see my pencil popper. If you're fishing in rough conditions, foamy, whitewater, having some sort of colored top portion or head of the pencil popper to me helps. I can kind of see where it's at, kind of see what it's doing. If you have an all-white pencil popper and you're throwing that into some foamy whitewater along the beach or in the inlet, if it's rough, it's very hard to keep an eye on it, very hard to keep track and see what's going on other than following your line and kind of saying, oh, there it is. But when you kind of look around and you're kind of like paying attention to your line, which you should when you're fishing a pencil popper so you don't get too much line, loose line on the reel, always keep track of that. Those colored lures definitely help out. Sometimes you'll hear them call like a chicken. Sometimes you'll see like a red head with a white and yellow. Sometimes they call that a chicken. Sometimes you'll see like a high vis, kind of like chartreuse top. Any of those half and half colors can be very helpful. Even a mackerel, like a green mackerel pattern pencil popper can be more visible in that whiter whitewater, foamy whitewater stuff. I just looked here for a second, so I might as well roam back and look at a couple of these questions that are flying in. Cool Fishing says, best lure for bass during the cinderworm hatch. So obviously, the cinderworm hatch was going down. Can't say I've seen a lot of them recently, more so last week, more so around the full moon than really new moon, but maybe they're still roaming around in different areas of the bay. I haven't seen in the last couple days, but if you are looking to target fish during the cinderworm hatch, I really suggest fishing either smaller stuff on the fly, but if you want to fish spin tackle, I would strongly suggest fishing soft baits. Soft baits such as curly tails, finesse, kind of like fork tails, any kind of grubs. There is a lure that I'm very, very fond of, very effective for me over the years, and it's a red worm. It is like a sluggo. I don't know who makes it. I got it a while ago. I can also say like a purple worm could be a good option. They were very popular yesteryear, way back in the day, for weak fish. Purple worms kind of like a thing of the past, not so popular in today's day. But I'll bet you put a purple worm on a small bucktail, you'll catch fish during the cinderworm hatch. You can also fish it weedless, kind of Texas rig style. You can fish it on like on an owner beast wide gap hook and twitch that on the surface and get it to roll and kind of tumble, just like a cinderworm would do, and you'll find fish. A lot of people complain they can't find fish, can't catch fish during the cinderworm hatch. You kind of got to match the hatch and think, what is that cinderworm doing? It's small, it's slender, it's tumbling, it's kind of fluttering and just dancing in the water column, mostly up top. What can I do that with? Maybe a popper would catch some fish. I know I've caught fish with poppers during the cinderworm hatch, but soft baits would definitely excel for me. Henry mentions about what's my favorite striped bass lure. Just because I love seeing topwater bites, I have to say a dock. Dock is definitely one of my favorites. Looking for a bluefin tuna charter. What's the best time of year to book it? So Ibras, I would say now, man, if you want to get these monsters, but they're kind of few and far between. So if you did not want to kind of go right away, I would suggest if you're looking for some of the smaller kind of fish, the bluefin that we see all summer, 4th of July. And if you go a couple comments up, you should see somewhere in there Adam Shear, Waterman, somewhere I think he's in there. If not, look up Waterman Charters. Captain Adam Shear is dialed in. He'll put you on the meat. He specializes in jigging and popping inshore, midshore tuna. He'll definitely help you out and get you on the fish. I would say focusing around 4th of July is kind of when it kicks off. Yes, there's plenty of fish caught sometimes in June, but normally all of July can be great and even into August. So hopefully that helps you out. What's up, Paul? Definitely give you a call. Thanks for the post there in the comment. Say hello. Hopefully you had an awesome winter. Cool says, cool fishing. Fluke are stacked up in the back bay. Definitely awesome news. It's surprising how many fluke are there. I think next year everybody needs to band together at these fishery meetings and really push hard for an earlier open of fluke season. I think we need to see fluke season open up May 15th. Any earlier, you really cut down that back end in the fall. But I really like to see a fluke season May 15th to September 15th. I think that'd be great. I don't know if we have all the days available, but I think it can be done. I would really like to see May 1st to October 1st, but we definitely don't have enough days for that. maybe some of you guys want to show up to some of these meetings next winter and argue your point in case. And maybe we can even get New Jersey split into 2 sections, north and south. It'd be nice if they divided it by Barnegat. Would be tough. Barnegat would be real tough because then I guess certain areas just north of there would be one regulation. Certain areas south would be different regulation. I know the southern area really wants an early season. Northern area wants a later season. That just goes because the southern area has a lot of back bays. Fishing's great early season. Northern area doesn't have as much back bays and has a lot of good structure and deep water in the ocean, which are much better late season. So there's always going to be a north versus south kind of debate and argument at these meetings. But need to get everybody out there. Need to always support your fisheries. Go to the meetings. Let your voice be heard. Whether it's striped bass, whether it's fluke, whether it's sea bass, tog, what have you. Get involved. Support fishing clubs that are involved that go to these meetings. And go to the meetings yourself. Submit your comments via email. Submit your comments in person. I try to go to every meeting I possibly can. And you'd be amazed how little amount of kind of presence the recreational anglers have there. There are some charter boat captains there. There's some tackle shop owners there. And there are some anglers and some fishing club members there. But there's not as much as you would expect to see. So I'm not going to go too far up in these comments to get too kind of backed up, per se. But if you guys want to throw some comments in, I'll definitely try to catch up with some of the newer stuff coming through. I mean, I still got a couple comments over here that I got to touch base on. So, any grass shrimp fly imitation favorites? Yeah. Bob Popovich's local fly angler, legend. He's from the Seaside Heights area. Saltwater fly guys, there's an association, I should know it. Saltwater, it's a fly club, saltwater anglers, I believe. He came up with a number of lures that are really kind of to his name. The beast fly, the ultra shrimp fly. He's at some awesome books. I learned a lot from him tying some things. Also, a lot of these epoxy kind of surf candy anchovies, the fly eyes, make some fly foils. If you're looking for some grass shrimp flies, definitely take a look at the ultra shrimp. There's a bunch of shrimp patterns, but that's one for me that I've caught fish on. And when you're also talking shrimp, don't overlook making little crabs. Crabs the size of your fingernail. Little ones, there's lots of different patterns out there. They're very, very easy to tie. I'd strongly suggest fishing some crabs. Weak fish love them, and striped bass love them. Shane Curbs said, are the stripers a night bite? Can't say I heard a lot of fish at night. I don't think there's a lot of anglers fishing at night. I can tell you there was a very big fish caught at night recently, this past week. You can check out our featured posts on our Instagram page, and you'll see a really big fish caught by a local angler at night on a plug. Will slogos work off the surf? How would you rig it? So T-Erst, yes, slogos will work off the surf. I'd rig it on a lead head. You could even fish it on a bucktail. You could fish it in a different fashion, sort of like a weedless fashion, with a beast kind of hook with a wide gap, weighted kind of weedless hook. But they're going to be more difficult to cast that way. I would fish it on a lead head. Another option would also be putting it on a 007 or an A17 and putting it on that back hook. So you're actually rigging the soft bait behind the metal, behind the diamond jig. You'll get awesome distance with that. You'll be shocked at how far it casts, and you will catch fish on that. It's definitely one of my go-tos for fall fishing. The most recent comment just came in from GOMCG. Did Big Blues show up in LBI yet? No, can't say they have. There's been a couple medium-sized blues caught. When I say a couple, I'm talking low numbers. 1 or 2 here or there. All these bluefish are very, very small. Hopefully these bigger fish show up. A lot of times Mother's Day to Memorial Day, we see some good bluefish action. Hopefully that will happen this year, but it's up for debate if it will. Only time will tell. AGL, I don't know how to pronounce that, but there's a name that came in, AGLIO, said, will Arthur take the weeds with him? I sure hope so. I had a trip on, Friday. I went out Friday. It was not a charter, but I knew I was fishing the next couple of days, so I had to go out and kind of say, hey, let me get dialed in here. And everywhere I went, it was like lily pads of weeds in the bay. Super frustrating. I like to fish the outgoing tide this time of year for the warm water, but that outgoing tide also is loaded with seaweed. Most of it's snot grass. I didn't really get too much eelgrass. There were some patches, but that snodgrass is horrendous. I think it has to do with that warm winter. The bay didn't freeze over this winter. We had definitely a short winter, an unseasonably warm winter. I think that's going to create a major, major headache with weeds. Maybe another Instagram live video could be how anglers can counteract, or how they can deal with weeds or a weedy situation when you want to fish, say for fluke, or when you want to fish for striped bass, and you kind of like, hey, I want to fish here. I know there's fish here. What can I do? Because that's what I kind of ran into on Friday. No matter what I did, I couldn't get away from the weeds. I couldn't battle. Sometimes just the way it is. So I feel your pain. There's lots of weeds, and yes, I sure hope Arthur and the wind blows that stuff out of here. I'm sure it will blow up. It'll kind of get that stuff off bottom. It'll probably somewhat pile up in certain areas. Maybe a couple good tides will take that out. Maybe we get a good westerly blow after that storm, which I don't see in the forecast. Maybe we do, and get all that stuff out of there. We did have a real strong westerly, whatever it was, recently, maybe a week or so ago, and it didn't take it out. So maybe we need some more westerlies. But this is kind of the time of year when the westerlies kind of stop. So it's kind of a bummer, but we'll see what happens. So let me dive back into some of these questions here. These were sent in from people that looked at our story. I put a post out at 7 o'clock today. I said, any questions? You got questions, send them in, and we'll talk about it in the second half. So here's some are. So Sam Cohen says, are strippers on the beach at LBI through June? So strippers, as long as they have their clothes on, they're allowed to be on the beach, but I'm not so sure if they don't have their clothes on. No nude beaches on LBI. But no, all joking aside, so stripers are definitely on the beaches of LBI and all of the beaches on the central Jersey coast in June, for sure. I would strongly suggest, I would advise, early June, much, much better than late June, personal opinion. Yes, you can catch striped bass in late June. You can catch striped bass on the beach in LBI all summer. They're just not that plentiful. It's not that consistent of a thing to do. But late May, early June, I could say it 1,000 times, is the best time for striped bass fishing on the beaches of LBI. Chunking bunker is the way to go. You want to fish lures? Awesome. If you're going to fish June, fish early. I would strongly suggest fishing that first half, week or so of the season. Be ready for big fish. Don't go up, targeting the smaller fish. Be ready for big fish. You'll be surprised what you catch. Let me keep moving on here. Tyler Cahill says, is fluorocarbon good for strength or just finesse fishing? So I would say that fluorocarbon is very, very strong, and it's very good for finesse fishing. So I did a talk way back when. It was one of the first Instagram lives that we did and archived, and I talked about fluorocarbon and monofilament line. Maybe you could dive back into that, Tyler, and check that out. I kind of break down how fluorocarbon is much more dense than regular nylon monofilament line. I could talk about a couple advantages of fluorocarbon. It's more dense. It's a little more, because it's more dense, it's hard. So some knots aren't the best. Don't seat down as well. But it's also a little better for toothy fish, a little more tooth protection. Not saying it's very great for that, but it's just one little advantage of that more dense line. Because it's the same refractive index as refractive index as water, it's somewhat invisible in the water to fish and also the human eye. So for finesse fishing, when you're fishing lighter tackle, lighter lines, and more times shallower water with clearer water, clear conditions, it can be very, very helpful. I use fluorocarbon more so for the stiffness than the invisibility factor. I don't think fish are the best. Most fish, general purposes, in say that my area, Central Jersey, aren't the best, in terms of eyesight. If they had great eyesight, they would not eat plugs that have huge 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 hooks, big monster treble hooks, hanging off their belly. Fish come up and they hit plugs with huge hooks all the time. So if fish are super, super line shy, I don't think they're going to hit a lure with a massive hook. That's just my argument. If you want to debate it, it's awesome. But I use fluorocarbon for its stiffness. I really like the stiffness in most applications. There's certain times where I don't, and that's when I'll go to a regular monofilament line, a nylon monofilament, or a copolymer. Most of the time, a copolymer is much thinner than a regular nylon or a fluoro. But fluorocarbon is very strong. A lot of tuna fishermen, a lot of big game anglers use fluorocarbon. So to answer your question, it's good for both finesse fishing and, say, big game or when strength is most important. Another thing is best gear and spots for early fluke. This is from Joey DeGregs. Best gear, in my opinion, is going to be bucktails. I think rigging up with a bucktail and teaser is probably the most productive way of all time to catch fluke. If you want to debate that, that's fine. I'd love to hear your favorite way to catch fluke. Live bait fishing is very effective. Very, very effective. I don't think it's most effective, though. In terms of size, quality, maybe. In terms of quantity and just having action, and for me, having fun fishing, to me, it's much, much more fun, and it's very, very productive. As far as spots for early season fluke, I would look towards some more shallow areas. I wouldn't go super, super far to like the way, way back areas, but I'd fish the sod banks, fish the cuts where you have some moving water, where you kind of have a nice area where a fluke can sit in some deeper cuts and can ambush kind of in some shallower flats. A lot of times clam flats, mud flats, grass flats, they'll be on those edges and they'll be sitting on those sides or sometimes in the bottom of those channels. Certain times they'll be up on the side, certain times they'll be down deep. Fish those drop-offs with bucktails. Make sure you kind of stay active consistently, slowly, and kind of gently, actively jigging, kind of bouncing in a rhythmic pattern. Don't just leave that bucktail kind of slide on the bottom. Kind of bounce it around, give it every once in a while a bigger jump. To me, that's what I find to be most effective. In terms of gear, if you want to talk about bucktails and lures, most of the time back bay, we're fishing 10, 12 foot of water and less. You really don't need much. You don't need anything above an ounce in 99% of the situations in the areas I fish in Barnegat Bay. Half ounce is probably the go-to most scenarios, maybe 3/4 ounce. Teaser, little 4.0, 5.0 hook. I'm a big fan of the new Mustad 3400 hook. It's a specialty bait holder specifically designed for fishing gulp baits. It looks like the 921 something hook from them. It's the classic bait holder, the bronze bait holder. It's just like that, but it's a black nickel. It's not offset, so it's straight as it turns. The hook can lay flat, which means that offset hook doesn't make it spin like the old one did. I think it's a great hook for a teaser for fishing gulp. Whether you fish a 4-inch, say 5-inch, even 6-inch. There's a bunch of different sizes from, I think we stock 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, I think up to 7.0 or 8.0. The bigger sizes, 7.0, 8.0, would be great for the 6-inch grubs. And I'd say smallest I'd go is probably 3.0 for like a 3-inch grub. And then you can have your own fitting thing in between. One of my favorite lures, or one of my favorite baits to fish right now in the early season for fluke is the gulp shrimp in New Penny. The gulp shrimp has been a stud for me for many years. That brown, kind of copperish, white and brown, the two-tone, is a natural kind of shrimp color. I think these fluke are in the bay. I think they're eating shrimp, and even in the summertime, it's a great catching bait. So some suggestions for early season fluke: bucktails, gulp, fish with a teaser. You want to fish live bait, that's cool too. Some guys will fish small live spot. If you can get peanut bunker, finding mullet right now would be pretty hard, but that would be some suggestions. Another thing you could do, cheddar crabs. Fluke love cheddar crabs. So check that out too. So Paulie Walnuts. What surf rod do you recommend for a spin fisher VI 4500? Throwing 1 to 2 ounce lures. So I should have looked at this a little earlier. So I'm going to kind of think about this for a second. And I'm going to think a surf rod, 4500, you're probably going to want to go 7, 8, 9 foot. 9 foot's probably going to be pretty long. Anything longer than 9 foot would be pretty long. 8 foot would probably be my suggestion. Depending on your price point you want to be in, the Tsunami Airwave Elite is a great option. The Airwave Elite's available at 8.8, and I believe that's a half or 3/4 to 2. So if it's right in with your rate range that you requested, and I think it's probably in the price range you're looking for. It's well under $200. Being that it's a spin fisher, you got a nice quality reel at a good price point, great value. Be awesome to match it up with that rod, which also offer great value. If you want to keep that price point down below $100, I would take a look at Tsunami's Trophy 2. Great quality rod. It's not the same quality as Airwave Elite, but it's going to get the job done. If you want to save some money, that would be my suggestion. Star makes a rod. I want to say they make an 8-footer. It might be a little heavier than what you're looking for. It might be a 1 to 3, which it's close to your weight range. Maybe it's a little heavier than you're looking for. That's got a kind of a cork grip, a little more of an older school build, bigger guides. A little on the wonky side. If you compare the two with the Tsunami and that one and the Star, you'll probably lean more towards the Tsunami, a little more modern, a little more up to date in terms of the technology with guides, grips, reel seats, and blind technology. Sorry, I kind of faded out on some of these questions. I see a bunch are flying in here. So I want to kind of go back here. Somebody said they found some bunker the other day, no bass or blues with them, thought there'd be early season, but you know why? No. So I know Raritan Bay had some bunkers stacked up and some guys were doing good on them. I can tell you Mike Greene, that I mentioned before, caught some big fish. He's cast netting bunker, he's live lining bunker. He's dotted with that application. Don't mean to blow his spot up, but he knows how to do it. If you can figure it out, more power to you. If you've got live baits and the fishing's slow, it's probably the best way to find a bite during slow days. Fish live bait. Just because you find a bunker pod doesn't mean the fish are with them. Hopefully you have good electronics, good sounder, and you can tell the difference between bait and fish. Maybe that's for another topic for Instagram Live. We can talk about how to read a sounder. Surf guys really wouldn't like to listen to it, but boat guys may. You're going to want to look for specific marks. A lot of times clusters and blotches of color are bait. Sometimes some fuzz, some sporadic fuzz is bait. All depends on what unit you got, depending on your gain, how far, how close this bait is, how dense or how spread out it is. But if you see some boomerangs on your screen, some big boomerangs, maybe it's like a small balloon. Sometimes it's like a sausage or a hot dog. Sometimes people say, oh, we got some hot dogs on the screen. There's some fish down there. Those are game fish. A lot of times striped bass, bluefish will mark in a boomerang, tuna mark in boomerangs. Depending if you're drifting, trolling, sometimes anchored up, these marks will show much, much differently. So I don't know the scenario with what happened with you, where you found the fish, where you found the bait. But sometimes if you find that bait inshore along the beach, you can grab that bait and take it somewhere else. Take it to some structure, take it to some deeper water, take it to, say, the inlet, take it to a section of the bay where you know there's some fish, take it off to where some guys are trolling and picking fish, where you know, hey, I heard there was some fish here. I found bait in spot A, but let me go check out spot B and C and see if I can fish that live bait and come up with a bite. So hopefully that helps you. BSTOUNE says water's still cold. Yeah, I'd say the water was warm. Had that south wind blow, cooled it off, but now we got Arthur coming. Good northeast blow here. I don't expect this water to cool off. It's definitely on its way up for the season. It's only getting warmer from here. Yeah, we might get some south wind blows, get some upwelling events, but they'll hopefully be short-lived. Just got a 2-minute warning, so I got to log off here quick. One question came in. No, that's the main bridge spot. So yeah, I answered all the questions there, so awesome. Really appreciate you guys jumping on and joining. I'm sorry I can't get to the last couple ones here. Hold on, I'll do this last one. My boys are 12 and 14, want to catch fluke. What type of rod and reel combo should I buy that won't break the bank? We've got some awesome combos. Tsunami Classics, Tsunami 5-stars. So 5 stars like $30 to $40. Classics are right at $100. Both those rods are awesome. We've got a whole delivery coming in this week. We were pretty low on them. I would strongly suggest those. You can match that up with a Penn Battle, which is $100. If you want to stay under the $100 real $100 rod and come down in price, I would take a look at the 5-star, and you can match that up with a Penn Pursuit. Penn Pursuit's at like the $50 range. The rod's under $50. You get an awesome setup for $100. It's easy to fix if you break a guide. It's easy to fix the reel if something happens. Definitely not the top of the line reel, but it's awesome for kids. I would strongly suggest it. Reach out to us, and we'll definitely set you up. Once again, it's Greg here at Fisherman's Headquarters, checking out here for the evening. Thanks a lot for everybody joining. You guys got questions, you guys got comments, send them in. Love to help you guys out. Have a great day. Stay safe.